Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. If you're coming across my channel for the first time, please don't make it your last. Go ahead, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you get updated when I post new videos. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for always tuning in. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate you guys. Today, I'll be checking out a video from Derek of the Rope Trotting Guys, where he talks about some weird Danish things to foreigners living in Denmark. So you guys, as someone who is looking to visit Denmark someday, I'm super excited to check out this video to see those weird things Derek talks about, and so that I can learn from him and just maybe get familiar with them so that they will be less weird to me when I come across them. So you guys, come with me. Let's check out this video.
This is me in 2017.
Yeah, hello, Derek.
Nice.
Oh,
This
we have
just moved to
double
Denmark 6 weeks
Derek.
ago.
Okay.
He tried snaps. He's tried biking again.
It's like riding a bike.
But 2017 me is seeing some weird Danish things for the first time. And it all started this summer.
Why is that drunk girl wearing a sailor hat?
Today, you and I are going to explain some weird things in Denmark to the old me.
Who are they burning over there?
Okay.
We're going to cover all of that and more. So if you're watching this as somebody who recently moved to Denmark, or if you're visiting Denmark for the first time this summer, I'm going to make sure that things to you are a little less weird than they are for the old me. We're going to explain some Danish traditions and experiences that you may or may not be used to. Er du klar?
Huh? Oh, ja. So, are you going to tell me about that sailor thing or what?
The sailor hat. Well, in Denmark, when students graduate,
I love this idea. I love that we have double Derek here, the old Derek and the new Derek, the Derek that has gotten used to Danish culture. I love it, and I love the sarcasm. It makes the video really interesting.
they wear a special cap called studenterhue.
Wow, I guess I got really good at speaking Danish.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. Anyway, the tradition of the graduation caps date back to 1856, and it was inspired by Nordic student meetings. These were meetings that were held in the mid-1800s, and basically students from Uppsala University, Lund University, the University of Copenhagen, and the University of Oslo met up to find out ways that they could unify around Scandinavian culture. The cap was developed as common headgear for all Scandinavian students to wear.
So, they're all the same?
Not quite. The studenterhue is usually white with a black shade and a ribbon, and it's usually burgundy. That's the most common color, at least. But it can vary depending on the student's schooling and the area of education that they chose. And it has a cross or another symbol in the middle.
So, they wear them all year to school?
No, it's actually bad luck for students to wear them before they take their last exam, but originally the student caps were worn the entire way through their higher education. They would only take them off once they received a master's degree. But today that has kind of faded from the importance of the cap, and it's actually just worn post-graduation during the party period.
They wear it to party?
Yeah, there's all kinds of rules about the cap, and it can help graduates get free drinks around town, so that's part of the reason they wear it, but it's mostly celebratory.
Wow.
I'm going to do an entire video on the caps later this month and all of the graduation traditions, so make sure that you subscribe and catch that one. Subscribe.
I've actually heard about this cap thing in a video, in a Danish related video I watched, I think sometime last year, but I didn't really get the reason behind it. And I was hoping Derek would really explain in details why they wear this cap. If anyone is willing to let me know the reason behind the wearing of that sailor hat, let me know in the comments. Thank you, guys.
Subscribe, but we're the same person.
Not you, but yeah, I guess. And I'll tell you one more graduation tradition you need to know about.
That was really
What was
hard.
that?
That's a studenterkørsel.
What's that mean?
I think it actually translates to student drive, and that's a tradition that's been going on for at least 100 years in Denmark. In the old days, it would be a horse and carriage, but today you'll find flatbed trucks and even tractors that pull students from house to house for a drink.
So like a bar crawl or a party truck.
Kind of. They go to everyone's home, and again, they'll have kind of a drink or maybe some food while they're riding around. And of course, they're celebrating in between houses.
That seems annoying.
Oh, this seemed like something similar to what some final year students, we call them final year students in Nigeria. There's this culture, there's this thing they do when they're about passing out from college. They go maybe house to house. They go street to street. Yeah, not house to house, from street to street, and then passerbys or people who own shops around just maybe like tip them, give them anything they have, like money or something. But they call it Rags Day. They put on very weird looking kinds of clothes or very wrong color combination of clothes. They just make themselves look weird and like center of attraction. And then they go about with some musical instruments, creating awareness that there's something happening, that we are final year students, and then you could just tip them. So this, I think, this is something similar to what Derek is explaining. Yeah.
People must hate it.
Actually, not really. I'm sure that there are some eye rolls, but since basically every Danish person has done this at one point in their life, they usually just smile and think fondly of their own graduation, and they cheer or honk their car horn with a little bit of nostalgia for the students that they're seeing that they can relate to.
I still think that'll take
Yeah.
a little bit of getting used to, but it's not like I can really sleep anyway.
Why not?
The sunlight.
Yeah. I remember how weird that was at first, but don't worry, it does get a little bit easier, and eventually you're going to install blackout shades. They're not perfect, but they definitely help.
Look, I'm a light sleeper, so when the sunlight starts creeping in around 3:30, I really have trouble falling back asleep. And the late sunset can be tricky. The other day, I forgot to eat dinner, and all of a sudden it was 10 p.m. and I was a little tipsy.
Yeah, you are still a light sleeper, and you still do that.
What about midnight sun? Does that happen eventually?
No, actually, it does get somewhat dark here by midnight, but you do have to go farther north if you want to find midnight sun. It's still a long-ass day, though, because by the summer solstice, it's pretty late by the time the sun sets. In fact, by the end of April, you've already had the longest day that you've ever had in your life.
Really?
Honestly, this might sound weird, but honestly, I never knew they experienced midnight sun in Denmark as well. I've only watched a video that talked about the midnight sun in Sweden. I didn't know they experienced the same thing in Denmark. Oh, wow. You mean when it's nighttime, there are some days where you experience the sun, even when it's like 10 p.m.? Wow, God is just so great. Wow.
Yeah. In Philly, the sun sets at 8:30 p.m. on the summer solstice, but in Copenhagen, you hit an
Wow.
8:30 p.m. sunset on April 23rd.
Damn. So what happens on the
Wow.
summer?
We've never experienced that kind of thing here in Nigeria. Most times when it's about 6 p.m., the day starts getting darker, and then anything from 7 up until, let's say, 6 a.m. the following day, it's always usually dark. I've never experienced sun in the night in Nigeria. Never, never. I don't think it has ever happened. Wow. I really love to experience this. The midnight sun. Wow. Well, especially for somebody like me who can sleep at any time of the day, whether there's light or darkness. If once my body needs to sleep, I will just shut down. Like, I can't wait to experience this. Sounds interesting.
Solstice in Copenhagen.
We burn witches.
Say what?
Yeah, we burn witches, but it's totally humane. They're burned in effigy, which sends them back to a lake in Germany.
That's confusing. Can you try
They
explaining
burn
that in more
witches?
detail?
Sure. We call it St. Hans Offen. I guess it's actually St. John's Night in English.
So a Christian thing?
Well, actually, it has roots in the pre-Christian religious traditions. Legend has it that during the evening of the summer solstice, all sorts of evil forces come out to play, and witches make their way to the highest peak in the Harz Mountains in Germany. It's called Brocken.
Spooky.
Right, but don't worry, our Danish friends have worked out a very clever tradition and a way of keeping us safe from the wicked witches and all of their mischievous troll buddies during the summer solstice. They light up a bonfire to ward off the sinister forces and ensure that everybody's safe.
Exciting.
Wow.
Indeed.
How nice
And
of
to
them.
make it even more exciting, they've usually placed some type of witch or a figure on top of the bonfire, and as it burns, it symbolizes the peak of summer and the beginning of longer nights. It's actually really fun.
Yeah, I love bonfires. I
Looks
assume
like
it's
fun.
probably a giant party too.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because Denmark, and it can be a big party if you want it to be. There's all kinds of places to gather and celebrate with people and watch the bonfire. In the old days, people would actually gather and have magical herbs and consume them on the solstice, but now those herbs are usually consumed in the form of a cold beer, and that's how they celebrate the season.
Isn't it amazing how traditions can evolve while still retaining their original charm?
Yeah, absolutely. You'll find Denmark is all about tradition, and even in that tradition, it may evolve over time, but the spirit of celebration and connection always shines through. So let's head down to the harbor, and we'll see something else that I don't think you're going to be used to.
Some really weird things.
Now, this has been a big surprise to me, just how many people are out and about compared to when I first moved here. And everybody's enjoying the green spaces with a drink.
Yeah, it's almost like the sun and warmth grows people out of thin air. I actually remember when, back when I was you, moving to Denmark in March and not seeing that many people out and about. And then literally the very first warm, sunny day, like in the beginning of spring, just wow, where did all these people come from?
Yeah, it's like the population has tripled. Everybody's outside from hibernation and drinking in public. I love that.
Yeah, and
imagine.
you still do. And it's super nice being able to go outside and just have some drinks in a park or along the harbor like we've seen a lot of people doing just now.
Does it still seem weird that you can go out in the wild and drink in public?
Nah, that part of Danish culture was easy to get used to, and you don't really need to drink your beer out of a paper bag anymore, and that's kind of nice.
Well, you know I never did that, but what are those sticks people are playing with?
Yeah, we walked past some people playing 𝐋𝐈𝐊𝐄.
You're so good at Danish.
I know. People say that that game was invented by Vikings during the Middle Ages. And fun fact, what do you think they used instead of wooden sticks? Bones. Yeah. Allegedly, it was first created with bones. The centerpiece that you have to knock over in order to win the game was apparently made from the skulls of Vikings' enemies, and the batons were actually the femur or the leg bone.
For real?
Well, I don't know. It's a cool myth. It's not proven, though. The game's actual first documented use was in the early 1900s. And at that point, it was just kind of widely played in Scandinavia. And in the 80s, you could actually purchase a set pretty much anywhere.
I want a bone set.
You're sick. But these harbor baths are cool, too. I share where a lot of these harbor baths are in our Copenhagen summer guide. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's pretty cool.
Sounds like something I'll need to find out cool places to go in Copenhagen during the summer. But all these people, they're just jumping into the harbor to swim. I can't believe people go swimming in the harbor. I could never imagine swimming in the port of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that, but it wasn't always that way here. This harbor used to be just like the one in Philly, and then Copenhagen spent decades deindustrializing the harbor. They rerouted water and sewage runoff and took a lot of care to dredge the harbor and remove contaminants. They even rezoned the area around the harbor, and their efforts really paid off because eventually the water tested good enough and it was declared safe for people to swim in. And then the first of these harbor baths opened in 2002, and you can find ones like the ones we've seen up and down here today all over Denmark, from the big cities like Aalborg and Aarhus to smaller towns and coastal cities. Danes pretty much love the water.
Yeah, it must be nice to go swimming in the summer.
Oh, yeah. Try all year long. The baths like this one have lifeguards from June to September, but you'll find people swimming or taking cold water baths in the middle of winter, too.
Oh, like with a wetsuit?
Nah. In fact, it's pretty common for people to swim in the nude.
Are you serious?
Yeah, for real. And maybe a little less common now that we all walk around with a camera in our pocket, but nude swimming and topless sunbathing, those kinds of things, even just changing into your swimwear on the side of the harbor is pretty common. And I know, yeah, it's kind of open air and people might see, but not that big of a deal here.
That's different.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the right word.
Really
it's different, but
weird.
Danes are pretty comfortable with that kind of thing. So don't be too alarmed when you see nudity in the wild or on television or even in advertising.
I guess it is just a body, and it's 2017 after all.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah, it's never mind. The point is, get used to swimming in the harbor, maybe even in the winter, and don't be awkward if when you see a little bit more of somebody than you're used to, whether they're swimming or sunbathing. you're in their country.
Good advice. It's hot today, so I think maybe I'll go for a swim.
I'm taking
It'll probably
notes.
be this nice until at least September, right?
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing about Danish summer.
Yeah.
It's usually the nicest weekend of the year. That's a joke you're going to hear many times living here in Denmark. But the idea behind it is that, sure, it's nice today, but it could be 9 degrees. Sorry, 50 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow. So you just have to take advantage of it when it comes and be prepared
because
for
you never
whatever
know
kind
when
of summer
it
you
gets
get.
so cold
Yeah,
again.
I noticed I still usually need a zip-up jacket in the morning, and I'm sweating when I sit in the sun. But then when a cloud covers it up, I'm cold. It's almost like it's the same temperature, but doesn't feel like it all day.
Yeah, you'll get used to that too, and you can enjoy Denmark in all types of weather. Just don't expect too much or plan too far ahead, and you won't be disappointed. The weather changes pretty fast here.
Wow.
Does it ever get too hot, like where you would need air conditioning? Because I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. Not a lot of AC here in Denmark, and a few weeks of the month you'll actually feel like you really need it, and that can be kind of tough. But if you want to know why air conditioning isn't really commonplace in a lot of Scandinavia, especially in Denmark, you've got to watch this video right here. And for now,
Okay.
let's just go cool off in the harbor baths.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hi, and
Bye,
thank you.
Derek.
Thank
Hi,
me.
hi. Wow, some really weird stuff. Wow. Well, not so weird. I've actually heard about some of these things in some of the Denmark related videos I've watched, and they're not so weird. But then I enjoyed the video because I actually learned some new things that I should expect whenever I find myself in Denmark, so it doesn't surprise me so much. So yeah, it was an interesting watch. As always, I enjoyed watching Derek's video. It was super interesting and I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. For those of you who are like me, who are looking to visiting Denmark someday, I hope you took notes. Yeah, so you don't get too surprised. Okay, I enjoyed this video. I hope you did too. If you did, go ahead, hit the like button, share with your friends. And if you want to watch the video uninterrupted, the link to the original video is in my description. Do well, check it out and give him all your support. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.